wanted to start this talk off with a fun question. So I don't know if you guys know of this meme format. It's who would win? And when I'm asking this question, I mean who would win as in who would have more players, in your guys' opinion. So on the left, we have one. There's a game with 200 million US dollars in development budget, hundreds of game programmers, game designers, QA testers and engineers, and artists, etc., and a giant marketing budget. And on the other side, oh, and yes, 4 to 5 years of development. And on the other side, we have a dad and his son, and a year of development. How many of you think the one on the left is bigger? Fair enough. Well, the one on the left is actually Destiny 2, and Ark Survival Evolved, and Sims 4, and Elden Ring, all combined, which have 150,000 concurrent players when I checked this a few days ago. And on the right is Brookhaven, which is a Roblox game which has 330,000 concurrent players. I feel like the fact that this exists means that you got to look into Roblox after seeing something like this. Like, how does this happen? And I think there are certain terms and conditions applied to this comparison, and I'll go over that later on in the talk. So who am I, and why should you listen to me? So I'm Zankhit. I'm the founder and CEO of Small World Games. We're a studio based in Bangalore with about 15 to 20 employees, and we work on Roblox games. For the last 6 years, we've made, I think, 5 so far. And all of our games combined have over 300 million unique plays. And we build games for ourselves. And what I mean by that is, we're not an outsourcing studio for the most part. We're kind of working together on what we think is the most interesting thing to work on at the time. And like Rahul said, I've personally been around the block. I've done YouTube videos since I was a kid, and I used to make gaming videos, and from there I kind of moved on to developing Roblox games with my team. So I've done roles from, I've been my own programmer, artist, modeling, I've done everything. So yeah, so what is Roblox? So how many of you guys know what Roblox is already? Okay, that's surprising. At least maybe 30% of people here know what it is. For the uninitiated, basically Roblox, the way I explain it is it lives in the middle of these 3 things. It's a social media and a UGC or a metaverse platform and a game engine all kind of rolled into one thing. So social media as in, this is where Gen Z kind of socializes, 16 and under, around that age, especially in the US, UK, Europe. A lot of them live on Roblox. They're spending all their time, they're making friends there. And on the UGC side of things, what I mean there is user-generated content. So, you wear a hat on one game, you go to another game, you're still wearing the same hat, that kind of thing. So 68%, so I'm just going to throw some numbers at you guys. So 68% of Roblox users are under 16. The top 20 games all have over 30,000 concurrent users, and the peak concurrent users in a game was 1.5 million on a single game. And lastly, it's a game engine, so I'll go over that real quick. So that there is Roblox Studio. And all of the Roblox games are made on Roblox Studio. It uses Lua for programming. I know that's not a very popular language, but it's quite simple. So it's very easy to use, it's free to learn, and I think one of the biggest things is it comes with inbuilt multiplayer networking. And I'm going to go over this later as well, but one of the biggest costs of scaling a game is what happens when you have thousands of players. And Roblox kind of takes care of that. And it comes with data stores and testing, deployment, and so on. And it does let you use external programs as well. So you're not, you can use things like Blender, you can use other softwares and tools and bring things into Roblox Studio, but the point is that everything comes together in Roblox Studio. So why should you care about Roblox? So the first thing is, and I was talking to somebody outside who said he's a new developer and he wants to get into the industry and he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know if he can make a game on his own. I think these kind of cases are really perfect for Roblox. So case in point is, personally, I had a team of maybe 2 people, including myself, and we made a game that reached 40,000 concurrent users in its first month, and that was just done in Bangalore in Whitefield. So like, it's like the platform is just very conducive to small and fast iterating teams, and a few talented core developers are quite sufficient to get a game out, which I don't think is the case for a lot of other platforms. It's quite hard to ship a complete title without a giant team, unless you're kind of an indie game dev studio. But even then, like 2 to 3 people are usually insufficient for something like this. And the success that we've personally had is not unique to us alone. We've seen other game dev studios have the same kind of success. So here, these are 4 games, and I don't know if you can see them, but all of them have concurrent users as of yesterday of between, I think, 80 to 100,000 people. And all of these games, no exceptions, were started with less than 4 developers, sometimes a solo developer. And these numbers are insane. I don't know if you know what typical CCUs are for games, but having 80,000 concurrent users is absolutely insane. And some of these have grown to maybe 10 to 50-person teams, specifically that second one that Adopt Me, which has sold their IP for over 50 million USD. So there is some stuff happening here. And I think a big reason why is because on Roblox, core gameplay loop is king. And what I mean by that is your game fun? I think that is true for a lot of platforms, generally speaking, but I think on Roblox, it is much more important, and there's a lot of focus on that, because, and it's partially because of Roblox's age demographic. I think having 70% of users under 16, when you're a kid, when you play a game as a kid and then you grow older and look back at it, some things don't age that well. And a lot of the heavy lifting is done by your imagination, I think. So, and I think that's kind of true for Roblox. So the success of a game is more determined by this core idea and this engaging game loop. So that example I gave at the start, where that game had 300,000 CCUs, that looks like that. And that looks like it's made by a 15-year-old. It's got the most simple UI. It's got, completely, just cubes for builds and blocks and stuff like that. But it doesn't matter. I think what matters is how much content there is in the game. It's easy to play, fun to learn, and it runs on very low-end devices. And I think that's another reason why these games have such high CCU, is because Roblox is cross-platform from day 0. So you don't need to develop anything separate when you're making a Roblox game. The game is cross-platform. You just literally tick a little box there, and then now it's working on mobile devices. So you're developing on every device simultaneously, and I think the benefit of that is you have such a huge, broad audience. So Roblox has, I think, 56 million daily active users across all the countries and devices. And when you're developing a game on Roblox, you are able to reach all of them, and you have a chance to reach all of them all at the same time. And a big part of why that core loop is more important is because you need your games to run on really, really bad phones, because not everybody has an iOS, especially even in India, a lot of people are on like some old Androids. So I think that's why it matters less if you have crazy flashy graphics or not. And the other thing is it's really easy to scale as a company. So here's a simple personal example. So these are our actual server maintenance costs for our game that hit 40,000 CCU. So when we were at 40 CCU, we had 1,185 rupees per month. And when we were at 40,000 CCU, it was also 1,185 rupees per month, because that was just my ACT bill. Server infrastructure is amazing on Roblox. Like, there are games with millions of concurrent players, and you're not paying out of pocket for that. I think a lot of the heavy lifting is done, especially for indie studios who are trying to scale fast. It's kind of a godsend. And large player counts are almost never a problem. And I think something people underestimate is, everybody wants to make the next big game, but I don't think people realize how difficult it is to maintain those huge games. It is really, really expensive, and oftentimes your server bill for just handling these multiplayer games kind of exceeds your revenue, and that is not something that happens on Roblox. And lastly, the Roblox games actually make money. So here's some numbers. I don't know if you can see them here, but these are some of the top 5 games that and their revenues in 2021, and they're ranging from 13 million USD per year to 70 million. And these are, again, these are the same games that I showed that start with under 4 developers. This is just pure microtransactions revenue from Roblox. It does not count for their advertising, merchandising, which can also be significant streams. And again, these guys are not paying for their server bill. So they're earning this and they're keeping it. And another thing is we are early for once. I think India is quite behind, generally speaking, on gaming. But here, I think globally, the world is kind of behind on Roblox. So there are very, very few serious Roblox dev studios worldwide, and they're like desperate to hire these Roblox game developers. So I think it's like a level playing field. And in our experience, we recently picked up projects for F1 and Disney as a studio in Bangalore, which is insane to me. Like I'm 24, I definitely shouldn't be having these projects, but because there's so few studios, I think there's so many opportunities that these brands are beggars, not choosers, right? They have to come to us, and we have to accept their projects if we want to, which is fantastic. Because I think overall the bar isn't low. I don't think the bar even exists yet. The quality of games is something the bar for the quality of games is something we're setting now. So I think if it's a good time to get into gaming as a whole, I think it's a great time to get into Roblox, because why be 10 years behind when you could be the first to something. And here's like a illustration of that same point. So on the left is some Roblox devs who made a football game, and it's got about 4,000 concurrent players. And on the right is a handful of FIFA devs, the official company that develops FIFA, EA. They tried making a Roblox experience, and that flopped in comparison to these Roblox devs. And again, like here, this illustrates, the core loop is so important. You need to know, you need to be in the shoes of the players, and finding the fun, which is a thing that's said in game dev a lot, is extremely important on Roblox, and it's even more so than other platforms. So how many of you here are students or are trying to get into? Okay, cool, a decent chunk, all right. So I think this will be important for you guys to know about why Roblox is good as a career, in my opinion. And I'd like to tell like a bit of a story of an experience I had hiring another student who was looking to join our studio. So I interviewed the guy, and he was fine. I thought it went well. And after the interview, he went back to some Discord server. I think it's a game dev server. And he decided to talk about this job there. Unfortunately for him, I was also part of that Discord server. And these are 100% real. I'm not joking, okay? Isn't making Roblox games a step behind? We are delving into more cringe territory. But then being base doesn't pay the bills, so let's just do it for the money. I have no comment on that last one. Also, yes, do it for the money. But the first two are some anecdotes that I see quite often with people who are trying to get into game development and they hear about Roblox. Like, oh, it's cringe, or it's something like this. I think this is a common misconception. I think what people don't realize is that Roblox really is just an engine. These are 2 games that are made in Roblox Studio. They are made using the exact same tools. The one on the left is the one on the left, and the one on the right looks like Call of Duty, right? It looks legitimate. And I think that's really something that people don't know, is that you can do these things in Roblox Studio. I think something that matters is the games depend on kind of the overall community of devs. And initially, Roblox had quite a young development age in terms of the people who are making the games. So the games did look like the games on the left. But over the last year or two, serious game developers are coming on Roblox, and then you can see kind of the quality change, and like the difference is just absolutely astronomical. I mean, I have another example of an animation here. This is, I'll just play it. There you go. Okay, that was from one of our games that we made in Roblox. I'm a huge fan of anime, so we just had like a fighting game. But that's just an example of, you can create these kinds of animations. There's sounds, there's audio, there's visuals too, just like these are other images of Roblox games. The one on the bottom left is from one of ours that we're working on. There's just very few hard limitations to what can be done. And I think it goes, there's hardly any hard limits, and some difficult things are easier on Roblox, and some easy things that might have been easy on other platforms are difficult on Roblox. And I think there's always going to be a trade-off no matter what platform you choose. Unity and Unreal kind of have the same differences. So, some games on Roblox are huge open world games. They are 1,000+ hour games. It doesn't matter. I think it just depends on the team and who's making this game. And I believe that good game designers design good games anywhere. So like if you look at a handful of badly made Roblox games like 5 years ago and you jump to a conclusion, I think you're kind of missing the point. And I think the same is true even in the App Store. I think there's really badly made apps and then there's really fantastic ones. So I think the swing in quality exists everywhere. The skills that you learn while developing Roblox are transferable. I don't think it matters what platform you're working on, and whether you're making Unity games, you're making Roblox games. The principles and concepts and the challenges that you're going to encounter are the exact same. And you get to hone these skills while impacting huge audiences. And I think this one is a huge one, because you get to wear many hats, and like you're doing, our back-end dev is also balancing the game, and our front end is monetizing. We're doing all of these things at the same time, and you get to do these things and see the impact. I think, how does it feel when you have like a live service game that has 100,000 people playing it, and you make a change and everybody absolutely hates it and just spams you on Discord, right? You need to know these things. You need to know how it feels to manage these games. You need to know how a small bug in your code destroys the game for like 30% of your audience, or like this device can't run it. Those things, those optimizations and that stuff that you get from experience, I think you get on Roblox for free much quicker than you would if you went through a traditional game dev route. I don't think you would get to, make these kind of huge decisions on games until many, many years down the line. And I think they're incredibly valuable to know. And lastly, skilled Roblox devs are getting hired. Emphasis on skilled there. There's a very small talent pool worldwide, and many of these funded studios are just absolutely desperate. There's an image on the right there of a remote game development job opportunity paying $115,000 per year, and they don't really care whether you're in India or not. That's like 80 lakhs a year. I don't know if the conversion's right. So the talent pool worldwide is now growing, and you have the option to join a studio. You have options to make your games yourself. And I think either way, something that I found is it's extremely fulfilling being valued. Whether that be from a job offer that pays a lot, or from a Roblox game itself making you a lot of money. It feels good. And that said, with all these, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are challenges. So serious Roblox development is hard. And just like any other platform, you need to learn the ins and outs of everything about Roblox Studio if you want to seriously make games on it. And there's a lot to learn. And I think one challenge there is that a lot of it is undocumented. So in Unity and Unreal, whenever there's some weird quirk, there's probably a community post by somebody 10 years ago talking about it. Roblox will probably not have that, which is a bit of a pain. But if you are able to get around it and you're able, there's a community. So I think there's ways around it, but I think that is a big challenge. And the other thing is, you need to learn a lot of new things, but so does everybody else on your team. So that means that Roblox Studio is where everything comes together. That means modeling, animations, everything. Everything happens in Roblox Studio or needs to end up there, which means you really have to, your entire team needs to be well-versed in it. You can't have somebody who's good at some other software and then hope that they're going to figure it out. Ideally, you should have somebody to help you through it, but I'll get to that later. Secondly, there's a lot of global competition. So you make games for a global audience, so you compete with studios all over the world. So, I've seen this here in IGDC, and I've seen this elsewhere. There's a lot of we're making the best Indian this thing. I dislike that greatly, because why make the best Indian whatever? I want it to be, you need to make the best in the world wherever it is. And I think Roblox does not even, isn't even conducive to that kind of thinking, I'm making an India game on Roblox. It's not a thing. You make games for the entire platform, every device, in every kind of geography at the same time. And therefore, you're competing with the world, and it's hard. There's going to be people who have done this for 6 years, and there's going to be people who have way more time and way more funding. So it is challenging, but like I said earlier, we are still early. But yeah, and also, these small, like I said, these 4 developers are making these huge games. Everybody has incredible responsibility. So, the changes that you make to your game in a Roblox Studio game, or when you make these decisions, there's a lot of responsibility on that individual, because there isn't a giant, it's not by a faceless corporation. So about the revenue figures, these figures are really impressive, 70 million plus, but Roblox does take a big cut. That said, these figures are post that cut, so they're still accurate. But I'm sure most of you might have heard about Roblox's giant percentage cut. They do take that cut because they are paying for, this is how you pay for your server bills, really. So when small games aren't really paying for it, it's the bigger games that do. And I think it's important to know that, it follows the 80-20 rule, which is 80% of the revenue is coming from 20% of the games. And I think that kind of division is maybe sharper on Roblox. So, the games that are big are making a lot of money, and the games that are small are making close to none. So unless you are seriously trying to make a living on Roblox, it's not really a place to go and get a free, X amount of dollars on it. So kind of this example was kind of unfair. If we look at who would win in terms of revenue, I think we all know that the answer would be the guys on the left, because these are all multi-billion-dollar IPs. But that said, I think most of these challenges can be overcome. Learning new things is never a bad thing. Good games do stand out. And like I said, on Roblox, your core gameplay loop is all that matters. And there's many paths to revenue. You can build your intellectual property on Roblox, whatever that is, and you can monetize it wherever you want. I don't think it really matters. And a lot of App Store games and stuff like that, they make a lot of revenue off platform as well. And lastly, global competition is incredibly important. We want Indian studios to be amazing. I don't think there's any sense in competing against other Indian studios. I think we should be competing globally. So yeah, I think that's everything I had to say. My name is Zankhit, and if you are good at what you do, please come work at Small World Games. We pay well. That's all. Oh, and any questions? Any questions, anybody? Oh, somebody over there.
Hi.
Hi.
So, can you give insight about the genre of the games that are popular, like
Say that again?
the genre of the games,
The
which are
genre of games on Roblox, right?
famous, like yeah, in the top?
Yeah, I think, I mean, overall, Roblox is so big right now that there are multiple types of games that are huge. From what I've personally seen, there is a lot of, I guess I would call them hyper-casual type games that are really popular nowadays. But then, one of the things that is incredibly huge now is role-play games, which are basically 1,000-plus-hour games, right? Where you make your friends and this is how you socialize. So those kind of games are massive. There's games called simulator games, which are quite similar to the clicker apps on your phone. And then there's also like fighting games. So like one of kind of the video that I had there, that was one of our games, which is more of a fighting related game. And that also had 40,000 CCO. So I don't think it matters. I think Roblox is so early generally that you can kind of make a game that you think is cool. And if it is really cool, it'll work. That's my opinion. Any more questions?
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
To be honest, I have not actually worked on Roblox, but I do have experience in Lua language that Roblox uses due to I work in another game framework. So how hard would it be to switch from that framework to Roblox, given that I know Lua fundamentals?
I think it will be incredibly easy for you. I think the hardest thing, so I've trained 3 programmers myself to bring them in from Unity to Roblox, and the biggest challenge is learning Lua, which, I mean, it's not that hard, but once you know Lua, everything else is the same. It's object-oriented programming, right? You say this ball has this behavior, and it goes and does that thing. It's the same. There's no difference there. And the tools are also going to be the same, right?
Yeah, and it's basically a smaller language than Python, right?
It's, sorry?
And it's actually easier to learn because
It's
it is
way
smaller
easier,
than
absolutely, yes. It's quite similar to Python in that, I don't know if you guys mostly use C# here and probably Unity, but there's a lot of, oh, you can't type this, you need to have this type variable specifically set, and Roblox and Lua does not care about that. It's way easier to write.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, the mics. I can hear you right here. Yeah. Yeah, so if you didn't hear, he's asking, can you say more about the UGC and metaverse part of Roblox? Basically, UGC is user-generated content. So on one hand, that is users making games for the Roblox platform, but it's also, there's a whole community on Roblox for making avatar clothing and hats and accessories and things like that. And then there's also, I mean, there's just basically anything that you can put on your character and things like that. So, probably why your daughter's asking for Robux is she wants to go buy these things. So these are, everything you see on Roblox nowadays is made by developers like us, and they're bought directly by the consumer. So, Roblox themselves aren't really making these hats. They're not making these clothing items. They're coming from some other developer, and usually they're somebody young or just a solo dev, and then these people are buying it directly from them. So that's kind of the whole UGC side of it. And I guess the metaverse side of it is, I mean, anything where you are buying something and it's persistent across everything is called metaverse nowadays. So that's why Roblox is also trying to brand themselves as like a metaverse platform. And so far, from what I've seen, a lot of brands these days are, they have huge marketing budgets, and somebody at the top says, hey, I want a metaverse thing, and where they go is Roblox. So that's where I guess it falls into that category. I hope that answered your question. Okay. Somebody here.
Hi Zankhit, my name
Hey.
is Zankhit. So I wanted to ask, Roblox kind of being an untapped engine and untapped territory in India, is it easier for rookie designers, not developers, like designers to break into the industry?
Is it easier for designers to make it in the
designers, like entry-level designers, to break into the industry?
I think that's a really great question. I I think Roblox is so early right now that most of the people making games are just players. So people with industry design experience are kind of few and far between. Personally, I think that because the audience is so different and like the games on Roblox are so different, too much industry design experience is probably a bad thing. You need to play Roblox games. You need to know, what are people playing here? What are they familiar with? So something that could have worked, I don't know, those casino games on the phone and the match 3 games, you won't find them on Roblox at all because people on Roblox are not there for that. They're going to these apps instead. So in terms of that, I think it's better to be a new designer, so you're kind of open to that. But I think there's a huge opportunity for industry designers because some things stay the same, right? Your core gameplay loop, your monetization tactics, whatever your energy thing, because you want them to spend more days in your game. That's true everywhere. And having that experience on like real live games on the App Store and offline, wherever, is obviously going to be a massive help. But you just kind of have to be okay with learning something new again.
Thank you.
That answered your question. The mics are down again. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know, whenever you put out a game on Roblox, like, does it like pop up somewhere? Like, how does one gain attraction in a like when you publish an experience or a game on the Roblox store? Like, how do they gain attraction to that?
How do you gain traction?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Basically.
Yes. Sure. Actually, I think marketing is one of the easiest things to do on Roblox. All the games that I've launched have been very easy to get off the ground personally, and I think that's because Roblox works similar to the YouTube algorithm, where sometimes you'll see videos from channels you've never ever seen in your life. Right? You'll watch something related and something shows up. It does the same thing. So I don't have an image here, but the Roblox homepage is just basically like a big App Store page, and it's all algorithmically sorted for the player. So if I go and play some game and spend many hours in it, and your game is similar, I have a good chance that that'll show. And if I click on that game and I play it for long enough, it'll show to other people, and that's how you grow. So kind of marketing, there's only really 2 things you do. You hit publish, you put out your game, and then the second thing is, there are huge Roblox YouTubers. I'm not sure if you've seen on YouTube, but there's an entire segment of YouTube and Twitter and Instagram where they're just Roblox content. So getting that initial traction from there is important and hard. Like you need connections probably, and you're trying to. I think it's harder to get your first 100 players than it is your first 10,000, because once you kind of reach those 100 players, if they're playing long enough, the Roblox algorithm kind of takes over. So yeah.
So it's like a snowball effect. So the base part is like, it's like a snowball effect.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna say a lot of YouTube examples because I use YouTube a lot, but getting your first 1,000 views on YouTube is incredibly hard, but once you kind of reach that, getting to 100,000, 200,000, millions of views is like nothing, because once you hit those 1,000 people and they've watched it long enough, that's telling the algorithm and that's telling you that you've made something that a giant chunk of people enjoy. And all of these platforms, it's in their best interest to put that kind of stuff out there. YouTube wants you to watch as long as you can. Roblox wants you to play as long as possible on their platform. So it's more importance on the designer, which kind of relates to that previous question. It's like if you make a really well-designed game, it's going to work.
Thank you.
Any more?